Hello, welcome to week 2. Today is Monday, April 6th. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a lot of fun going through all of your discussion questions from last week. And I heard from a couple people that they would like to check out the room that I built for myself. So I'll give you a very quick tour and we'll get started with today. Here is my room. I built it. I've been showing some of you guys throughout the year. This is some of my favorite video game memorabilia. Bulbasaur. I'm a big fan of Zelda. This is a Zelda piece that a dude in France 3D printed. Pretty stoked to have that. Here is my wall of nerddom, all of my JRPGs. For those of you that don't know, that's Japanese role-playing game. I'm a big RPG and JRPG nerd. Here's my monitor. Sorry, hardcores, I only have one. Or do I? Doesn't count. And finally, here is my PC. And if you can see little Pikachus in there. I don't know if you can see him, but I hope that worked. I hope it wasn't blurry. That's my jam. Excuse me. That's what I've got to work with. So, I want to briefly go back through a couple of logistic things so we are locked tight on how things are going to go this month. I want you guys to be aware of just fundamentally how we do these things. It's not going to change. I just want to review briefly. Most every single one of you guys did a great job last week going through 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 13. So just to remind you, if you want to go one day at a time, great. If you want to go get history knocked out of the way and just finish it, great. I had kids working early in the morning. I had kids working late at night. Whatever works best for your family situation is a-okay. So this week, we are going to be talking about the frontier. All right, and today I want to focus on the highlighted section here. Today, primarily, we're going to be talking about cattle trails, how long they lasted, and why did they end. So, first thing, I probably have brought class back to this discussion a dozen times. Manifest destiny. But before that, let's get a little bit of history. Cattle trail history is one just like the horses. The Spanish brought over cattle, and they did that in the 1600s. And so think back into our first quarter when we were learning about our impresarios and our explorers and our missions, and we were learning about mapping coasts and how different countries were marking out different plots of land, kind of staking their claim and taking land for their countries. Spain introduced cattle to this continent, to this region. So the friars would introduce ranching in the 1730s. I would love to show you guys this really important map. You're going to see it going forward. The major cattle drive routes. There are 4 main routes. We're going to talk about those right now, okay? I have them color coded for you. The Chisholm Trail is in yellow. The Western Trail is in red. Shawnee! The Shawnee Trail is in green, and the Goodnight Loving Trail is in purple. Let's take a look. These routes, let me present it real quickly for you. A couple things you guys are going to notice as I want to go back to our Manifest Destiny plug. Throughout the expansion of this country, we see at first thousands, then 10,000s, and then hundreds of thousands of people moving westward. And when people move west, they need supplies and they need stuff to sustain themselves. So the cattle industry exploded as more and more and more people moved west. Here are our 4 trails. You can see this trail, that these 2 trails down here started in the southernmost city of Brownsville. So these ranchers, ranch hands, cowboys were basically traveling hundreds and thousands of miles. As you notice, all of the trails move north, and there's a specific stopping point for all 4 of these trails. As you can see, they stop at major railroad intersections. So the cattle would be basically ushered north. they would be slaughtered, packaged, and shipped out west for, resources and food. A couple things I want you guys to know is um, the main transcontinental railroads had not yet been built further south. So these trails were necessary. These trails were stretching a long, long, long distance because these railroads at this point in history, these were the railroads that were going from coast to coast. Unfortunately, there weren't any that just kind of, maybe made a pit stop here in Waco or Fort Worth or Dallas. They needed to be moving north. You'd have lots and lots and lots of challenges, rough terrain, bad weather, crossing rivers. So these were very difficult trails to follow and difficult jobs to have if you were in charge of, herding cattle and moving hundreds, sometimes thousands of heads of cattle. It can become very, very, very difficult. So that is our map. You're going to need to reference that later. So make sure if you need to rewind and watch that again, you do that. The cattle trails, they lasted 20 years, and that seems like it's not very long, but there are specific reasons why. I forgot a couple things. Before I do that, I want to show you this picture because I can't think of anyone else other than the luscious locks of Kyle Luda. Not the cow, the glorious hair. Never change. Don't cut it. I regret it. So, how long did it last? It lasted from the 1860s to the 1880s, 20 years. The main reason why these cattle trails stopped was the fact that, guess what? They figured out and they were building more railroads. More railroads were stretching in all parts of the country. They were stretching in the northeast to the southeast. They were going from the southeast to the southwest. These railroads, we were becoming more proficient at connecting our transportation methods. So no longer needed to walk, you needed to ride. And topically enough, the invention of barbed wire is something that made things very difficult for these trails to persist. The farmers would basically, they would they would wire off their land, and sometimes, your trail would go through someone else's land. Well, now you've got wire all up in your business, and you'd have some people who would do the dishonorable thing and of cutting the wire, and that would make those farmers very, very, very frustrated. And our last topic is quarantine laws kept Texas cattle from crossing into many states. Cattle, they're a great vessel for sickness, for disease, and for viruses. So a lot of times when there would be, and this is back when modern medicine wasn't able to help nearly as much as it's able to help us now, these cattle would be responsible for spreading infectious diseases. And a lot of times the people that were near the cattle a lot, helping them move north to those railroads, would be doing the same. Farmers and ranchers in other states blocked trails to prevent Texas longhorns from infecting their cattle with Texas fever. Ranchers, ranch. If I run out of ranch and get quarantined in my house without ranch, probably find something else. Anyways, that is our lesson on cattle trails. Where they came from, where they came from, why the trails were necessary and what function what purpose they served, and why did they go away after 20 years. Remember, guys, follow the structure, go at your own pace. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer to the best of my ability. Have a great week. I miss you guys dearly. Flatten the curve, wash your hands, stay inside. Enjoy your time away from me. Bye.